What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV back here for another episode of Player Ratings as Spurs beat Frankfurt 3-2 in the fourth game in our group stage game, which puts us really in charge of this group now. Fate is in our own hands, and all we need is one more win against Sporting in our next game, and we have safe passage into the next round of the Champions League. But let's get into the player ratings. Let's start off with Hugo Lloris. Sim gives him a 7. I gave him an 8, and I thought he made some really important saves in the game. One in the latter stages of the first half, one a couple actually in the latter stages of the second half as well, and there was that one real big standout save with the fingertips hitting it over the bar. I think that for their first goal, he put himself in a dangerous position after Dier's screw up, and he tried to get the ball away, but wasn't happening. And for the second goal, when they scored from the corner, it was him that put out for the corner, where maybe some people saying he could have done a bit better from. But I thought all in all, it was a really strong display from Hugo.
I was pretty happy with Hugo. The couple of moments you talk about, I think the second goal, it was a bit disappointing. He fumbled the ball for the corner. He should have really held on to it. Albeit I wouldn't put the second goal on him, but obviously he should be doing better with the corner. That save from Lundstrom, which got fingertips on it, was going right to the top corner. It's an absolutely phenomenal save, and I don't think he's getting enough credit for that save. It was absolutely brilliant. There was another moment in the second half where he comes charging out of his area, and he had no reason. The situation was under control, and he kind of made a mess of it, and he forced to put out for a throw, and it could have been a bit worse if he messed it up, but ultimately nothing came of it. But I think all in all, it was a strong showing. He made some important saves at important times. No, couldn't do much with the first goal. Actually, I think he did well in the first goal to even get a save on it, but unfortunately it fell to Kamada anyway. So I think it was a strong showing, just a couple of moments where he'll be a bit disappointed, that's all.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Next up is Cuti Romero, right-sided centre-back, 7s all round from us, and we're starting to see now good consistent displays from Romero. I think that's 3 on the trot now, which I've been really happy about, seeing as we did say after that injury, it's taken him a while to get back in the groove of things, but I think he is in the groove of things now, and we saw some proper hallmark Cuti Romero defending yesterday, with him stepping out in front of the attacker, winning the ball back in good areas of the pitch, and also doing those like this little kind of pass and then just dart forward. You know how Cuti Romero likes to influence the attack. There was one moment where he had his chance on goal as well, which I thought he should have done better from, where the keeper was equal to it with a good save. But all in all, I thought he defended really well, and another step in the right direction for Cuti.
I actually gave Romero an 8. It says 7, but I gave him an 8.
Oh, you gave him an 8.
I gave him an 8. But he was absolutely phenomenal, I thought. Again, he's improving week on week after we kept mentioning his performances. I think he's really getting back to his best now. He looks so sharp. He's getting in front of people. He's starting attacks now. His passing is a lot better as well than it has been in previous weeks. As you said, he nearly scored as well with a good header. He's becoming that defender which he's tough to get the ball off, and you don't want him coming up your backside like he does with his aggression and his tackles. So I think he was absolutely phenomenal again, and he's really starting to add that consistency back into his game, and he's showing why we were all praising him last season again.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's coming at a really important time with games every few days. But let's move on to Eric Dier, 6s all round from us, and there was good stuff and some very bad stuff in there from Eric Dier, and obviously the bad stuff did result in us conceding our first goal. I mean, I don't know what he's doing, to be honest. Just a terrible mistake, which put Spurs in all sorts of trouble, ultimately going 1-0 down. But I think after that, I think he grew into the game, and I think his passing ability and the way he was spreading the ball, he did it really well. A few iffy moments defensively, but that first moment when we conceded a goal, I can't get it out of my head, to be honest. It was terrible.
Yeah, that's the main reason I've given him a 6 as well. I think in general it was a pretty good performance. I think he was pretty solid, and I think he recovered well after that mistake, but it could have been costly going 1-0 down in such an important game so early, and it was just a lack of care with that touch inside your own penalty area. And I'll give him a pass just because that kind of thing hasn't happened for a while, and he seems to have cut out most of those kind of mistakes out of his game, so we'll put it down to a blip. But luckily we turned it around very quickly and we're 3-1 up by half time, so it wasn't costly costly, but it could have been if things would have turned out differently.
Yeah, absolutely. Which moves on to Clement Lenglet, 7s all round from us. And again, another good display from Lenglet. Looks really calm and composed in possession. That ball playing ability was there for everyone to see. And I think defensively, he stood up to the challenge that most came his way. So I'm happy with Clement.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed where with that Lindstrom chance, his defending in that instance. Actually, with Dier as well. With that instance, I was a bit disappointed. But and then obviously Lloris bails them out with a great save. But other than that, I think he was pretty good in general. I think his passing ability into the forward line really allowed us to get a spring on Frankfurt and get those attacks in early. And it's no coincidence we were starting to get more regularity in those attacks when Lenglet was passing into them. And I think it was another pretty good display from him in a Spurs shirt. So he's starting to also get a bit of consistency in his performances. So I'm really happy with that.
Let's move on to Emerson Royal. Sim gives him a 6. I gave him a 5. And it was the good, the bad, the ugly with Emerson Royal yesterday. And there were good moments. We'll start off with them. I think, who was it that he played through on goal? That was a really good chance for us. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do remember a few attacking options yesterday where he did influence the team. He got one really good cross into the box in the latter stages of the game where we should have capitalised more off, but I just can't get away from the terrible mistakes that he was making yesterday. I mean, I remember 2 or 3 times the ball just came to him in kind of just like no danger whatsoever, and he just lets the ball out and goes out for a throw onto the other team, which was really frustrating. The goal we conceded late in the game to put us under pressure, it was his man that he lost, and he was literally nowhere to be seen. And he's just so frustrating because I know he put in a good cross in the box yesterday, but apart from that, I mean, he doesn't do anything going forward. And it's like week in, week out, this is happening. Defensively, he's okay. But again, it was his fault to give away that corner as well. So just very frustrating.
Yeah, it's a very low bar when we start praising him for putting one good cross in. But it was an okay cross, I guess, which Romero nearly scored from at the end of the first half.
That's what I meant, last stage of the first half. That's what I meant.
Yeah. I didn't think he was too impressive. Look, I don't think he was as bad as he has been in some games. I think there were some moments where he was actually linking up with Richarlison really well, and Richarlison was finding him in good positions, but he obviously didn't. He failed to capitalise on them. Defensively, I thought by and large he was okay, but that's the second goal I really put down to him more than anyone else. Lapses in concentration, giving the ball away. We obviously got we ended up giving up a corner, and he was bad at marking the corner as well. So the second goal, Emerson's probably the most culpable of any player for that one. But I thought other than that, he was okay. It was an average performance. I thought actually his build-up play in general was actually a bit better than maybe usual. But obviously, when it went to the final third, it was usual Emerson.
It's just those frustrating moments, though, isn't it? Like it's just so brainless some of the times, and it's just like, how can you just let a ball run out of play so many times? Like, how can you not follow the defender when it's in the latter stages of the game when he's your man? I mean, it's just so stupid.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to the midfield. Let's move on to Rodrigo Bentancur. 7s all round from us. I felt he started the game really well once we got into our rhythm after 10-15 minutes. And in the first half, he was putting himself about. He was playing those nice little quick passes to set us up on our moves. Good link-up play, playing the ball into Harry Kane and stuff like that. But I did feel like he kind of weaned out the game in the second half, and he kind of tired, and he didn't keep up those energy levels that maybe we did see in the first half. And what I was saying in the last game against Brighton, how he was getting forward so much and really influencing the team going forward, I didn't think he did enough of that yesterday.
Yeah, I think he did pretty well for most of the game. He did get booked in the second half and then got taken off with 20 minutes to go. But I think by and large, it was another good performance from Bentancur, and I think him and Hojbjerg give us such a solid base in the centre. They're hard to break through. He covers so much ground, and a lot of the time when we're pressing from the front, he's the one leading the charge a lot of the time, which is really good. And I think it's important because he's really good at getting tackles and winning the ball back with long legs, lanky legs. And I think yesterday, wasn't maybe as good as his partner, but I thought a really good showing again from Bentancur.
Yeah, which moves us on to his partner, the ever-reliable Pierre-Emile Hojbjerg, 8 all-round from Arsenal. Another really good display from him yesterday. Just the leadership qualities he has in the middle of the park is second to none, something that we lack a bit on the pitch at the moment. And I think that he really takes that great game by the scruff of the neck. He's that driving force for Tottenham that really drives the team forward. He doesn't let any of the midfielders have a moment's rest as well. Got a brilliant assist, which makes that 3 in a row at home as well, goal contributions. So that assist, what a lovely cross it was, pinpoint for Son to smash home that volley, and he was doing great work up high up the pitch and defensively as well. So I'm loving Pierre at the moment, I really am.
I thought it was fantastic yet again in another really good performance this season, and he's starting to have a really consistently brilliant season so far. He's really been there's been a bit of debate whether he's been our player of the season, and I think he's a very good candidate. If not, I think he is our player of the season so far, because he's been absolutely fantastic in most games. Not for his assist as well. It wasn't just the cross, but it was his run down the right, linking with Richarlison, getting beyond the defender, and then putting a good ball, having the presence of mind to dink a really good cross in as well onto Son's left peg, and what a finish it was. And I think Hojbjerg, he's starting to really dominate in the centre. Him and Bentancur are developing a really strong partnership. I never understand people who say that partnership doesn't work or things like that, because I think they're really starting to create a really strong bond and a really strong partnership together. And he was winning the ball in the middle of the park so often. I think that's one of his main strengths, picking up loose balls and making interceptions in the middle of the park. He was doing that time and time again, and Frankfurt struggled to deal with him. And going forward, as you said, he's starting to really be effective and really contribute, and we needed a midfield to step up, and it seems like he's the one who's doing it.
Absolutely. Let's move on to the left wing back in Ryan Sessegnon, who I felt he had a strong game for the most part. I think where he earned his money yesterday was, I think defensively he was really good. You're really seeing him to start to grow physically. I think he's imposing himself physically on the opposition now, which is really good to see, because time and time again, our criticism of Sessegnon was that he's not physically dominant. He doesn't take on his man and stuff like that. And I think he's starting to do that now. He's starting to arrive in dangerous areas of the pitch as well. Could have done a bit better when Richarlison squared the ball to him and it just got away from him. But the criticism I have is that I would like to see him do a bit more in the final third. Well, a lot more in the final third. But I think you can see him growing into this role now.
Yeah, I think that's 2 solid performances in a row for Sessegnon, and I'm not surprised that Conte's been keeping faith with him, because I think he repaid that with another strong showing. He was unlucky not to score in the right beginning of the second half, arriving at the back post off a cross with Trapp making a good save. And I think he was supporting Son and Lenglet and Hojbjerg really well down that left-hand side, and he was getting to the byline quite often. He was really stretching the play, and it's no surprise that Son was finding all kinds of space because of the space Sessegnon was opening up for him, and he was always an option there on that left-hand side. And I think he was more effective in general build-up play than Emerson as well. I think he was pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with Sessegnon. I think it was another strong showing from him.
And I feel like his fitness has gone up a few notches this season, where he's just like tirelessly going up and down, up and down, up and down, which is really good to see. So hopefully he can carry that on and keep getting better and better. But he's definitely improving under Conte, that's for sure. But let's move on to the front line now. Let's start off with Richarlison on the right side at number 10. 7s all round from us, and it was better from Richarlison because we've been quite critical of him over the past couple of games. But I felt that where he was really strong was his link-up play yesterday, where he was kind of in the key areas and really linking up well with Kane, linking up well with Emerson, linking up well with Son, and the team really benefited it from him. He had a few moments where he was bursting into the box, played a square ball into Sessegnon, where he could have done better with. Maybe he could have got on the score sheet as well, Richarlison. But I think that I still want to see more from Richarlison, but it's definitely a step in the right direction yesterday.
Yeah, again playing from the right-hand side, so again not his favourite position, and he has to do more creative work from that position, I feel, than maybe if he plays up front or off the left, where he can get more involved in trying to score goals. And that leads to the fact he didn't have a shot the whole game, which is why he's not as suited to that right-hand side maybe than he is to the other sides. But he did improve his link-up play. He was linking really well with Emerson down the right-hand side, and he nearly got an assist with a really good ball to Sessegnon after really good work taking on Ndika and beating him. So maybe he's starting to learn that right-hand side role a bit more, because that's the role he's least used to out of all of them. I do feel sorry for him a bit, because obviously we know his best positions are not the one is not the one he's playing in right now. But I think he's starting to adapt, and I think it was a much improved performance from his last few.
Yeah, and what's really impressive about Richarlison is just the sheer work rate that he puts into each and every. Even when he's not playing well, you can see the work rate is always there, and yesterday was no different, because he did an amazing job for the team in terms of the amount of running that he did solely alone. But let's move on to Harry Kane. 8s all round from us. Again, a much better display from Harry Kane, in my opinion. He was the hub of everything that was going well for Spurs from maybe 10-15 minutes in up until the latter stages of the game, and it just provided that link-up play between him and Son is just on point at the moment. Lovely shift and move and pass to play it into Heung-min Son for his first goal, and he was hurting Frankfurt all day long with dropping deep and spraying in the passes. I think he did tire a bit towards the end, because we saw a few movements from him where he took a bit too long on the ball, especially that one where he could have played in Bryan Hill right at the end, which would have sealed the game. Slotted his first penalty really well. Second penalty was really bad, so is what it is. But when you're looking at his game as a whole, I thought it was very, very strong from Harry Kane.
Yeah, if it wasn't for that missed penalty, you're probably putting him as a 9. But unfortunately, those couple of movements right at the end cost him maybe a point in our player ratings. I'm sure we won't lose any sleep over it, but I think
he's desperetely waiting for this episode to come out. Do you not know that?
I think he was really good, like really strong, and I think getting exploiting that partnership between him and Son was what really took us to victory in this game. And I thought he was absolutely central to everything, which is when he was at his best last season in a Tottenham shirt. He's been good this season, but maybe hasn't quite hit the heights of the performance level last season. I think this was a sign of maybe he's getting back to those levels. And you talk about the penalty as well. Obviously, he took it well, but he earned that penalty as well, bundling his way into the penalty area, dribbling past 3 players, and earning that penalty really impressively. And that was a sign of Kane of old. I haven't seen him go on a dribble like that for a long time. And actually, he was actually getting beyond people a few times. That chance to set up Hill, he actually did really well to get to that ball and run beyond the defender. So he was doing that a few times, and that was really impressive from Harry Kane. And he'll just want to get that penalty out of his head, I think.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. And the last but not least, Heung-min Son, man of the match for me. Absolutely unplayable at times yesterday. 9s all round from us. Got 2 goals, 2 really nice finishes as well. The first one calmly slotted with precision in the bottom corner after he was played in from Harry Kane. Second one was absolutely sensational. It really was. I mean, the ball comes over from Hojbjerg and bang on the volley into the top corner. It was just so nice to watch that goal. But apart from that, he was a thorn in Frankfurt's side pretty much the whole time. We spoke about the link-up play with Harry Kane, but he was the one just running at their throats the whole time. They literally couldn't deal with him. It seems as though like he really has his pace back, really has his confidence back. He was playing with a smile on his face, and he also got the opposition man sent off as well with some really good running. And I think both the yellow cards were against him, weren't they? In the space of like 3 or 4 minutes. So big up, Sonny. Best performance of the season by some way, and let's keep it going.
Just need to take more free kicks. That's the main thing. Because Kane got one, and we all wanted Sonny to take it. But I agree, he's really starting to play back to his best. He's looking as sharp as he's looking confident again. Whereas those maybe that volley earlier in the season would have been skied, or he would have mishit it, but he connected perfectly this time on his left peg right into the roof of the net with all that power. He caught it so sweetly, and that's just a sign of his increasing confidence. And I think a lot of early in the season, he was playing a bit too wide and a bit too deep, and that was causing causing Son not to get the level of chances he was getting last season, where I think he was at his best under Conte, where he was a bit more central and a bit more further up. And against Frankfurt, that's exactly the position he was in. We need to see him in that position a lot more, so he's getting beyond the last defender, and he's more of a striker than he is a number 10. I think that's where he's at his best. We're seeing signs of that now. That's 5 goals in his last 2 home games. Even against Brighton, I thought last week he was our best attacker as well. So I think he's starting to get back to his best, and putting that bad form behind him finally. finally.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to mention any of the subs apart from Brian Hill, who I thought came on and had a really nice cameo, obviously won that penalty. I mean, there were some good moments and a few bad moments in there from him, but in terms of the good moments, you're really seeing a player with bundles of ability. He just needs to work on the physical aspect of his game, and I think we'll have a really good player on our hands.
Yeah, definitely. It was a mixed bag from Hill. I thought it was definitely an entertaining cameo, that's for sure. But it's a shame for him that a few things didn't go his way. Otherwise, he could end up with a couple of assists, already a goal and an assist, if things went right. But unfortunately, Kane missed a penalty and didn't find him with a tap in. Is what it is. But I thought he showed on the counter attack against 10 men, he was definitely a threat, and that was positive.
Yeah, let's move on to Antonio Conte. 7s all round from us. I think in terms of the system he started with and everything was absolutely spot on. I mean, we didn't start the game well, but I don't think that was down to his system or anything. I just think we came out the block slow. But once we scored that goal, it was absolutely total domination up until those final 10 minutes. And you've got to give credit to Antonio and the way he set up his team. I mean, it would have been very easy for him to carry on with that 3-5-2, but I think 3-4-3 was the way to go yesterday. I just feel like the downsides for Antonio was a bit of game management yesterday, where I think he went 3 in the middle just maybe a bit too early, or we invited Frankfurt back in the game, basically, is what I'm saying, and I didn't think we needed to do that. And I think if we carried on with the 3-4-3 formation, we probably would have got another goal and then really killed off the game. Then he could have put that extra man in midfield, but yeah, that's all I'm going to say. I think a bit of poor game management from Conte, but all in all, he chose the right system, and we won the game quite comfortably, but not comfortably enough in the end, as our performance deserved.
Yeah, I think he would have been a bit frustrated with how the game, maybe obviously the result was positive, but maybe how the game ended. He would have been definitely frustrated with our lack of assertiveness in the game, because we were fully in control. 3-1 up. I think, you can definitely put a lot of that performance down to Conte, how he's coached the side. It was absolutely fantastic. It was one of our strongest home performances of the season up until that point. They get the red card, and all of a sudden, I think he said it himself that him and the players were guilty of believing that the game was already over. And I think just after the red card, we kind of we let our guard down. He brings on 2 centre mids and takes off a striker. He goes 3-5-2, and I feel like with Frankfurt down to 10 men, now wasn't the time to take off a striker and make it easier for them to defend. Now was the time to put your foot on their throat and just kill the game. And we didn't do that. We allowed them back into the game. We weren't really pushing forward too much. It was kind of like we're just taking it easy, playing it around the back. Basuma wasn't really playing it forward. We weren't making those runs like we were beforehand. And then we kind of allowed Frankfurt back in the game when we didn't need to do that. Once he realised it was a problem, though. He brings on Brian Hill and Lucas, and he decides, all right, I'm going to go back to a 3 up front, which I think was the right decision. But unfortunately, just after he'd done that, we conceded. And then once we concede, he then probably would have wanted the 3 in the middle back. And that was just the unfortunate aspect of the game. And then once we have the 3 up front, we did create a bucket load of chances near the end, but we also nearly conceded as well. And it had to take a save from Hugo to get the win, And it was a few times where out wide they were getting forward and could have had some really dangerous moments. So look, we dug deep and we held on in the end. I feel like the game tactically could have been managed a bit better, but at the end of the day, I think he obviously earned the win. We deserved the win, and that performance, all the good stuff, he gets credit for as much as he gets criticism for the bad stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So that there you have it. That is our player rating for the 3-2 win against Frankfurt at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. 5 takeaways will be with you very soon. But thank you everyone for watching us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.